Yeah, so hi everyone. This is going to be week 4, step 6, and my name is Ganning. We're going to be walking through this step today, and you'll notice that with me we have John. You want to give a brief intro about yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm John Kilmister. Been a software engineer now for nearly 20 years, working in a whole range of things. Over the last 5 or 6 years, it's been Azure, including Azure functions and other things. So hopefully, I can add something to this lesson that we have today.
Yeah. Cool. So, do you want to give a brief overview about like what we have to do in this issue? So,
Yeah. So far in the previous steps, we've started to build up this API that will return a single cat image based on your input. What we're going to do here is we're going to extend that out to have 4 different cats based on 4 different inputs. And during that, we'll make a few other changes to improve the code.
exactly. Cool. Okay. So, let me go ahead and split screen this so I can figure out how to. There we go. You can still see this, right? Cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and follow through every single step on here. So it says make sure you're on the two-cats front end branch. So the command to check which branch I'm on in Git is git status. At least that's how I do it. There might be a different way, but this way it says you're on branch two-cat front end. So we're good. If you're not on this branch, go ahead and type in git check out two-cats dash front end, and that should take you to the branch that you need to be on. Cool. So the first one's done. The next one, it says edit your two-cat HTTP trigger from week 1. If you'll recall, this is going to be in this two-cats folder, index.js, that we're going to be working in. So it takes in 4 parameters, name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, and returns 4 pictures in base64 format with these parameters. So first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and first take in these 4 parameters. I think the way that this issue wants us to do it is we want to take these names in as a query string. So John, do you want to give a brief overview about like what query string is and how we can access parameters in a query string?
Yeah, so there's different ways of getting data from the person who's making the request, be that a web app or a website, or if Postman is the thing, into actually your program. So you can post the data like you would with a form, but you can also get it from the URL, and that's the query string that we'll be looking at. And you see that in the URL as a question mark followed by key equals value, key equals value. So when you see that in the address bar, that's the query string, and we can read that information and perform actions on it.
Exactly. Let me actually make this bigger so it's easier. There we go. So the way that we're going to access name1 is we can just say this. Const name1 is equal to, so we go ahead and look at the request object. And then this request object has a parameter called query, or an attribute called query. And this just contains it's like a JSON-like object of every single query key, right? In this, it would be rec.query return name1, something like name1. It would be Dave, etc. So after that, name1, we just want name1 in here. Then we can basically just copy and paste this for 4 names. So this will be 2, 3, 4.
It's coming through a little jumpy on my side. I assume the video is going okay.
Is it like glitching out a little bit?
A little bit, yeah, but not hugely.
Hopefully the stream is fine. I can take a look at that later, and I can edit stuff in here if it's just getting jumpy. Yeah.
Great.
Cool. So edit takes in 4 parameters and returns 4 pictures. It also says remove the random name. We'll worry about the 4 pictures in a second, but it also says remove the random name feature. We have a get name function, right? This just returns the name of the cat. But if you'll notice right here, we're giving it the name that we want. So I'm just going to go ahead and just delete all this name stuff because we're not going to need it anymore. And then, yeah, okay, cool. So after this, this is done. And then it says we need to get 4 cats with these 4 names. So the way we're going to do that is, if you'll notice right here, we already have a get cat pick function right here, and that's pretty good. That's what we want, right? So what we can say is we're actually going to modify this. So I'm going to delete what we have right here, and then we're going to modify this function, because since we need to get a cat with a name, we can, instead of passing in context right here, the only reason I was passing that in before is because we need to console.log stuff and delete that, and we can just replace this parameter with name. So we're going to be passing in a name to this function, and this function is going to return us back a cat image with that name on it. So let's go ahead and say let's delete that. We can just call this name right here. And the way that this URL works is like this. Whoops. CATS API. Let's go there. And then they should have something that says text like this. There we go. Okay. So we just copy and paste that into here. And then like that. Whoops. I think I'm just missing parentheses. There we go.
There you go.
That says hello. Yep. Do you want to explain a bit like how this works?
Yeah. So the first thing on line 22, where you've put name, that is going to be a variable, temporary variable of anything that you pass in. So if you pass hello in, it comes in as the variable name. It's only available inside this function. So then if we go down to line 23, what we're doing is we're using that variable that we're looking at, and we're joining it to that URL. So you can see on the left where we've got the word hello at the end, we're basically replacing that with the value that's passed in and that's stored in the variable name. There's many ways to join strings together in JavaScript, or concatenate strings, another way of saying it. A plus is one way, and that's the way we've chosen to do it here. Now, once you've got your URL, we're then going to send it to the server, the same as if you hit enter when you've typed the address into the address bar. And that is a get action. We're not posting, we're not sending it any data, any payload. We're just asking it and getting the response. So you can see there we specified the method get. In a web browser, when you hit enter, it's doing a get. You just don't have to say that. It's just automatic that it's a get. But here on the right, we're explicitly saying, I want to do a get rather than a post or any other action. And that returns a response object. That response object has lots of different information in it. It includes if it's successful or if it's failed, and it returns the data, which then on line 27, we're reading that.
Yep. And then after that, we're going to take that and convert it into an array buffer, which I believe is binary. I might be wrong there.
Yeah, it's an array of bytes, which effectively is binary. Yeah.
Yep. And then we're going to convert that into base 64 string. If you want to give a brief overview about what base 64 is.
Yeah, so it's we've got the binary data, but we want to be able to put that into a standard format that everything can understand. And that's what base 64 is. It's a type of encoding. Encoding is a way of transforming one thing into another. And there are different types of encoding, but base 64 encoding is one that uses 64 different letters and numbers and characters. So all of those bytes in the byte array will get transformed into batches of letters and numbers and things like that. And that means that we can then send it to the web browser in a standard format that it can understand. Exactly.
Yep. So eventually in our front end app, we're going to go ahead and take this base 64 string and transform it into an image.
Yeah, and so, yeah, that's the thing with encoding. It is two-way. It might look like it's encrypted the data, but it's not encryption. It is encoding, and encoding is just really changing it from one format to another. And equally, you can change it straight back again as well.
Yep, exactly. Cool. So I believe this function should be done. Let's go ahead and go into here. So let's go ahead and say const cat1 is equal to, we can just say get cat pick and then name 1 like that. And then we can do a lot of copy and pasting, and then cat2, name 2. So we're going to get 4 cats with the 4 names that we specified. whoops, this should be name 3, cat 3, cat 4, name 4, like that. And then obviously there are more elegant ways to do this rather than just creating a bunch of variables, but this will work for our purposes. And then in our body, we're going to go ahead and return cat 1, cat 1, cat 2, cat 2, cat 3, cat 3. So what's happening here is cat 1 is going to be the key, and this cat 1 right here references this base 64 string that we're returning right here. There's a shorthand to do this. We could just omit these keys because the key values are the exact same, but this just makes it more explicit. So let's go ahead and test this actually to make sure that it works. So I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to type in Fn, hold down Fn, and then type F5. I believe on Windows it might just be F5.
Yeah.
And then this should run, and then you'll see that right here I will find 2 cats. This is the endpoint that I'm going to try to get. Then I'm going to go ahead and open Postman. And then, John, do you want to give a brief overview of like what Postman is?
Yes, so Postman allows us to send requests to servers. So much like when we're in the browser and we hit enter, it made a request and returned the image. We can do the same thing in Postman. But the main difference here is that we can actually manipulate that request. So we can add in extra information and change it from a get to a post or a patch or whatever we need. We can also add in a payload of data if we were doing a post. And we can add in query string parameters in a more structured way. So yeah, it allows you to manipulate that request in order to send it to the back end much more than you could do with a browser. Exactly. It also allows you, when you get the data back, to see it in a more readable format.
Yep, exactly. So what we're going to be doing here, I believe we're going to be making a GET request because we want to get the images of the cats back. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in my endpoint there. You could manipulate the query string right there, but Postman allows you to do it using like an interface right here, which is pretty cool. So I can just say key is equal to name 1. I'm going to say John right here. Name 2, I'm going to say Ganning. Name 3, we can say Emily. Name 4, we can say Shreya. If I click send, let's see what happens. Oh, you'll notice that we got a blank object. Okay, what did we do wrong here? Because we should have the base 64 string. Oh, I think I know what we did wrong. This was an async function, right? So we need to use await here instead of just calling that. Do you want to give a brief overview of like why that happened? Since it's async, why do we need to use await?
Yeah. Yes, I didn't spot that actually. So await works with asynchronous functions, or it's the keyword that we use to invoke asynchronous functions. And what do we mean by asynchronous? Well, if you don't use async or await anywhere in your code, it's going to execute one line, then the next, then the next. When we get to a piece of code that goes off to another server, it's going off to a web server, the server's going to sit there and wait for that request to come back. And during that time, your code or other code that's running on that server isn't able to do anything. So what we do is we mark it as async, and that says that, okay, while we're waiting for something somewhere else, the computer or the server has the ability to do other processing for other people. We're freeing up the resources effectively while we're waiting for the third party. And then when it comes back, we then know to continue on our code. Now, in order for that to work successfully, we have to first mark the functions that we're waiting for with an await keyword, which you can see on line 30. And then if we've got a function that we call that we're awaiting, we also need to await that ourselves. So you have to await all the way up the chain, so to speak. So we're waiting for something on line 30. So therefore on line, I think it's like 14, 15, we need 13 through to 16, we need to await as well. And if you scroll up just slightly higher to the beginning of the function, you should see that it has async at the top. So anything that lower level is that's calling this will know that there are awaitable things in it.
Exactly. Yep. So let's go ahead and click F and F5 again. Run that again. So it's gonna run. Okay, cool. Now let's click send, and let's see what we get back. This is taking a while.
Yeah, I think async computing is a complex topic. Hopefully, I explained that. So
Yeah,
okay.
I think what you said makes sense. We can always leave resources in the video. Is there one? Look at this. Ooh, why is this taking so long? It usually does not take this long. Maybe I'm going to cancel this request and just send it again.
Do you want to see what it's doing back over in VS Code? Just make sure there's.
Yeah. It says process the request right here.
Two cats.
It's not done yet. This is interesting. Maybe I can try putting a context.log after every single line. And then after right here, we can put context.log.
We can always use breakpoints and step through the code as well. That's the other option.
Oh, I've never used breakpoints before. How do we use?
Oh, might be a good idea. Okay. Right next to line number 8.
Number 8. Yep.
Yeah, you see a red dot. If we click that red dot, when your code runs, your code will stop when it gets to line 8. Okay. And the clever thing is, we can then step through the code line by line by line. We can look at the values of all the parameters, and we can see each line executing. So if you've got a problem, it's a really good way of stepping through the code.
Wow. Okay, we can try that. Okay, so let me go ahead and click F and F5 again. Then let's see what this looks like. Cool. So now if I send this request, it will pause.
Yeah. It should do. There you go.
Cool.
So it's now paused, and you can actually hover over name 1. If you go, go further to the right. So you can see request.query.name1. So we can actually see now what the query object contains, and you can see there the query object contains name 1, name 2, name 3. So that has come through successfully. Now I'm going to, if you see the toolbar across the top, there's a play button.
Yes.
Yeah. So don't press that. But that, if you were to press that, your code would just complete. If you go one to the right, that goes step over. So that takes you to the next line. However, if that line is a function, it won't step into the function. It will just carry on through. It will just carry on.
Gotcha.
The one to the right of that is step into. So if you're on a line that has a function, it will go into that function. And then that is step out. So if you're in a function, it will jump back out of the function back to where you were. And these all have shortcut keys, as you can see. They've got the F keys.
Yep.
So the one we probably want now is a step. Is the F10 one, which will be step over.
Step over.
So if you press F10, you can see we've moved to the next line. And if you hover over, you can see there all the variables, and we can see name 1 has been set. Sorry. Go to the left just slightly.
Yep.
So you can see, name 1 is set, but name 2 is still undefined because we've not executed that line. So if we click it again, and we'll go down, and we'll go down again. So you can just step through the lines, and it's a really good way of working out where your code's going wrong. So we can see everything's coming in fine, and all the variables are being set perfectly fine. If we continue on through, so if you go down again, so this is where, by pressing step over, the F10 one, it's not going to go into that function. It's going to wait for that function to execute and then move to the next line. So as we can see, that seems to be where it's hanging.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Is it?
It's not being able to make that request.
Yes. Okay.
We could have used F11 to step into it. I don't think we would have learned a lot. All we would have done is kind of move on to line 34, and we wouldn't have got any further. So let's have a look at the URI to make sure that is correct.
Yep.
So,
okay, so I'm just gonna click this.
Yeah.
This it says not found. If I just type in something random there.
Yeah, I think there's probably what's different about that.
Oh, did it just go down right as we're recording this video? There's no way. I think the API itself is down. It is 0 cats.
Oh, okay. So that shows the API is down.
Yeah. Usually this is like 700 or something. So I don't think this is an issue with our code. It's just that the API is down. So
if we go back to the code, you can see we've now finished. Cat1 has now returned something. But if you hover over Cat1, you'll see that it's set it to nothing. Yeah.
Oh wait.
Oh, it has set it to something.
It got something.
It did. Yeah. Okay. It just took a very long time. So you've got a couple of options. We can either continue stepping through it, or if you're like, okay, let's just see what happens now, you can press the play button and it will just continue all the way through.
Which one should we do? Continue or?
Let's just play. Let's just continue on.
Okay. So let's click continue. And then let's see if we got anything back. Oh, the request is just.
Yeah, so if it took as long as the other one, the first one took quite some time to come through. You could put another breakpoint on line 20, and then you know when it's hit line 20.
Whenever it hits that, okay. Will it, if I just add it right now, do I have to rerun it, or will it just automatically?
No, it will pause when it hits that.
Oh,
so
cool.
Continue or F5 will continue until it hits the next breakpoint.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I often do that. If I put in multiple breakpoints and I get to a point, okay, I'm happy, now run to the next breakpoint. Here we'll see it continuing to send the request. At some point, it'll hit that second breakpoint. Yeah,
I hope so. It's interesting that the first request returns something when this whole API is down.
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean, it might. You're right. It is interesting. I would have expected it just to time out. Yeah, there you get a gateway timeout.
Yeah, that's what I got with that. If I refresh this, I don't think it'll come back anymore. This is actually interesting. Last time I was recording these videos, it went down as well. Maybe it's just whenever I start recording videos, it just decides to go down. Oh, I don't know if this is going to return, but this is the correct code though. If it was up. So, are we happy with this, or do we want to keep waiting until? Because it might just be dead waiting until.
Yeah, I think we'll be waiting a little while. I mean, the requests will time out eventually, but it will take quite a while probably for each of them. Okay,
cool. But yeah, if I add this code to GitHub, it's not going to work as well because bot's going to see that we're not getting any images back, but that's not our fault. It's because the API is down. So, but I can guarantee you that this is the correct code to actually do this. I'll just go through it one more time.
So it's worth removing your breakpoints because otherwise every time you run this code, it's going to pause at those. So whenever you set breakpoints, do go back and remove them if you don't need them anymore. But it's a really good technique for trying to understand and debug your code.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, but that's week 4, step 6. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, John, before we end this recording right here?
No, I think, there is one small thing. We've completed it as kind of specified. It is worth noting, if you have a list like this with Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, a more typical way of doing this would be to return an array, which is a list object. And then you don't have to keep adding in Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7. So just think of that as an alternative or something that you can improve in the future if you want to take this a little bit further.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point that you have there. But yeah, that's this step. Yeah, let us know if it helped. I will